Hi there. Today we're going to look at Igor and draw him upside down. That may seem a little unusual, but it'll make a lot of sense in just a minute. So when we draw Igor, we never want to look at him right side up. And in doing that, we're going to be able to use our right brain way more than our left brain, because remember in class we talked about using our right brain. And when we do that, we're going to be able to even draw more accurately, even though it's upside down, and we're not looking at the whole drawing. And you'll see how it goes in just a moment. So while you're working, and I'll do this upside down, what you're going to do is only reveal about an inch of the drawing, and then you only look with your right brain, and you're only going to look at how long lines are, how far apart they are, if they're parallel to each other or not, what kind of spaces there are between lines, and how that compares to a space next to it. So I'll kind of get going, and I'll kind of point back and forth at what I'm doing. I can see here first that there's some space between the edge of the paper, and I'll just kind of draw in where I think the border might go, and just kind of go for it here. If you make a mistake, it's no big deal. And I'm only going to draw this one exposed inch. And I can see how this drawing starts a little bit off the border. And I can see that that line is, roughly, and again, you just have to eyeball it. I do not want you to measure. Don't worry about being perfect, but there's a lot of back and forth with your eyes. I can see how this line is shorter than that one, and it's connected by a curved line. And as I do this, I'm trying to understand that I'm not labeling anything. Remember, your left brain labels things like a chair or a leg or a car or a bird. Your right brain only looks at the spaces in between, the curve of something, and I can see how this curve right here, there's a little bit of a straight line compared to that arc over here. So I'm going to make sure there's an arc, and then it kind of straightens out right there. I can see how there's kind of a V shape to those two lines, so I know that that one has to go over farther, and it even sticks down a little bit farther, or in my case, up a little bit farther. There's another line next to it that's pretty parallel to it, going at the same angle. And I can look at this angle, how that's kind of like an L shape right there. I know it's a chair. I knew it was a chair, but I'm not looking at it as a chair. Here there's kind of almost a right angle that goes off of that. I can see how this space right here is a little bit bigger than that space right there. So when I draw this next shape, I'm going to try to make sure that it's a little bit less space right here and a little bit more space right there. So as I'm doing this, I'm only looking at spaces and lengths. Now I see something that's wrong here, because that angle right there is farther to the right than this one, and this one isn't working that way. So I'm just going to extend that. And then if I want to, I can erase. And sometimes we tell people never to erase, but that's okay on this one. Then this perpendicular line right here attaches to that, so that's pretty close. I see kind of an arrow shape, or a little pointy shape right here. And I can see that this line connects to this shape that we were drawing. So there's that long pointy shape. This next line that's looks like it's pretty parallel. I can just start drawing that one, and you can see how it's starting to look very much like this over here. This line that I drew extends over farther, and I can extend that farther back and forth if I like. Here there is a really wide open V shape here, so this is a much different angle than other ones that I'm seeing. I'm looking at the space. In class we've talked about negative space before. You can think of this as kind of a negative space, that little space right in here. And if that's the case, I think I drew that line a little bit too high if I'm looking at how that space right there looks. Let's see, there's another line right above it. This one starts closer and gets farther away, so they're not parallel to each other, not quite, so I'm going to let that happen. Then there's some open space that the next curved line does not connect to these two. So I can start again just off of the border and let this little subtle little S curve happen, and there's a little bump right here that is just below that line. So if I'm going to go like this in the same way, that little bump has the same relationship, and there's kind of a curve to it right there, and there's a little angle right here. Then it goes pretty much at kind of a rounded curve, but very at a right angle again. Then I have some space. So now I'm going to look at this space, compared to how big this one is. And this is about twice as wide as that one. So if there's a space here, I could almost put two of those and then draw another line right there that's fairly straight but has a little bend to it. And then over here there's kind of this little bendy line that's roughly around the middle of this open space. And I just draw that little bend in there. After you kind of finish that area, all you need to do now is slide another inch or so, and then start connecting the lines that you see with the lines in your drawing already. Okay, now that I've finished, I can let you know that what really happens with this drawing is that when you really use your right brain and you're just looking at the spaces and angles and you're not allowing yourself to label things like a sleeve or a hand or a nose, your drawings really turn out much more natural. There is a difference between realistic and natural. This drawing that I did is not an exact replica of Igor over here, but it's very natural looking. Many times when people draw right side up, things look very stiff and childlike. When you draw upside down, you truly see what you're looking at, and that's the idea behind this drawing, is to use your right brain in order to truly draw what you see rather than what your left brain thinks that you see.